I'm a filthy little goblin.
For centuries, orcs lived as the superior greenskins in the modern world. But this was about to change on a random Tuesday evening. That's when Grom the Pounce decided to show the orcs that goblins are the real superior greenskins.
I demand justice.
Grom was convinced there had to be a place for gobbos and decided to create lands for his followers. We start in the little mountain city of Massive Orcal. And if you played this game before, you know this isn't going to be easy. Why? Just look at the map. You're surrounded by the entire French population. Look a bit to the southeast and you meet the speaking trees.
Gromit, did that tree just speak Vietnamese?
But that's not all. Right by the Grey Mountains to the east lies Reichland, who hate everything that doesn't look human. And last but not least, there's the entire high elf population just vibing on a single island to the west. Unfortunately, they also despise anything that doesn't fit their perfect little aesthetic. First things first, I kicked everyone out who wasn't a goblin, except this old hag.
Get out of here, you moochers! That's right, keep moving!
You know what? Yeah.
Except you stay.
She got a long nose, so close enough. Welcome, Goblin Hag. I have 3 missions. Capture Tor Yves, take over 60 settlements, and erase the entire French population. Obviously, I start with the third one, because French. After a decisive victory for me, I had defeated my first foe, but I had the feeling things could go south real quick. So I recruited a goblin lord who started gaining followers by promising every goblin the right to vote and declaring that goblins are the superior greenskins. How is my diplomacy going? Everyone hates me. I wanted to greet my fellow French neighbor by sieging his main city. He didn't like that. While goblins get outperformed in basically every stat, they do have a slight advantage. They're cheap, filthy, and come in huge numbers. So no matter how strong the enemy is, just throw more goblins at them.
If one swing kills 100 goblins, prepare to swing 1,000 times more.
Not long after, the city was mine. I had won, and peace returned to the cruel world. And then one turn later, the next angry French arrived. And there she was already. I stocked up Grom with even more filthy goblins and put him into hiding. Because I knew the angry French woman had another army nearby. Lucky me, I got discovered, but she didn't have her second army with her, so it was time to fight.
The best defense is a wall made of goblins.
My goblins were way superior to the enemy, and it didn't take long until the angry French woman was defeated. The last of her forces fled,
Get out!
and then she decided to attack me again. Even auto-resolve saw how dominant the goblins were. Soon it was clear who had won. We feasted on the delicious captives and moved on. I recruited yet another goblin lord who is now pumping my 2 armies full of new, fresh goblins. Oh, and it turns out you can upgrade your units using the scrap I'd been collecting from the beginning. No one taught me that. No one taught me that. For some reason, she thought she still had a chance against my mighty goblins. I won again. Now there was nothing stopping me from rewarding myself with her settlements. I started on the French woman, just to show how dominant goblins can be. After just 6 turns, after declaring war on me, the angry French woman was defeated. Hey, how's my diplomacy going? Everyone still hates me. By end of turn 14, the speaking tree declares war on me.
Okay.
While I was busy chopping wood, another French guy thought it would be a good idea to take advantage of the situation and declared war on me, only to immediately shatter against the first settlement defense he encountered. I captured his castle by turn 24, and then another speaking tree wanted to throw hands. I banished yet another French faction from this planet, and the world became a slightly better place. I don't know how the speaking tree made it all the way into the mountains, but the settlement is now mine. Everything went smoothly. Slow but steady, I chopped down the rest of the speaking trees, built up my settlements, and made a true home for goblins. Until the angriest of all Frenchmen decided it was time to whoop my ass. This was bad. Not only did he have humans who are twice the size of goblins, he also had humans on horses. And he had a lot of them.
Never trust the French.
Those knights were so ready to erase any species that didn't match their color scheme, while my archers got flanked by knights, and I was being overwhelmed by the satanic tactic of shock cavalry. I actually managed to hold the rest pretty well. Reinforcements arrived. Yes, I know, there are orcs in there, but I can't do anything about that. They're garrison units. I won. We won. The goblins won. This was a major triumph for the filthy little goblins. Leoncoeur retreated like the cowardly French he is. I started cooking, I pursued my world mission. Erase the French. I also finally chopped down one of the talking trees. I took his settlements, he took them back. Then the angry Frenchman decided to send a lord and a bunch of peasants on a suicide mission to stop me from taking Lyonesse. Lyonesse was mine. But but not long after, he took 2 settlements back. I had to do something about the French, so I started raising another filthy little goblin army to finally end the stinky croissant menace sitting right on my ass. Meanwhile, another speaking tree wanted revenge for his entire race, so I had to kill him.
Trees shouldn't have rights.
Come on, man! That's too easy!
The angry Frenchman took yet another settlement, and yes, everyone still hates me. The speaking tree kept bullying me. It wasn't looking great, but lucky for me, my ultra high ranked goblins and my insane war tactics made it possible to win the fight. Finally, I could breathe again. Bit by bit, I took back my settlements, and after 4 turns, I noticed I could finally start a war. I chose Leoncoeur because French, and kicked everyone out who wasn't a goblin. The speaking tree still harassed me, and the angry Frenchman came back again, this time with more humans and more horses. Of course, he slaughtered my second army, which was unfortunately in march stance. And now I had a problem. But luckily and right on time, I received the war feather buff and launched an attack. Then I noticed I had an orc unit in my possession. I instantly banished him into the Chattery, and because I didn't want to micromanage his stupid horde of archriders, I auto-resolved it. For some reason, the speaking tree thought he had a chance against my chat goblins, and now the path was clear for me to take everything he ever loved. Meanwhile, I finally stood at the doorstep of the angry Frenchman and started sieging his stupid castle, hoping I could somehow win. While I was fighting on 2 fronts, a new threat appeared. Marienburg. It was only a matter of time until something from behind the grey mountains noticed my little gobbo presence. I tried once again to take over Cologne, but of course it didn't work out. And just as I thought I was done with the speaking tree, another one of those pesky sticks declared war on me. Before finishing off the angry Frenchman, I had to deal with the imperial man, who was now trying to take things that were definitely not his and absolutely mine. Everyone still hates me. My income was trash, but I needed more goblins. Remember what Sun Tzu said.
If one swing kills 100 goblins,
Anyway, the Frenchman tried to catch one of my armies, failed miserably, and ran straight back to his castle. Or in Rust terms, he tried to snipe the little goblin from inside his base, and the second things got too hot, he hit like the filthy roof camper he is. The imperial scum raided my beautiful castle and marched right into my army, just to get eaten. I got pranked by the game. And the Frenchman wouldn't stop ransacking my villages. So I set up a little trap, baited the little French rat, and he ate the cheese. With his second army gone, I finally had the chance to take over his castle. But of course, it didn't work out, and I had to besiege him. I needed yet another army, so I recruited everything I could afford with 1 rock, 2 pairs of shoes, and a complete box set of 2 broke girls. But at least, another tree got unalived. With my 3rd Gobbo army, I still couldn't defeat the Frenchman in his roof-capping base. Yes, I had absolute trash units, but I couldn't change that now. And I needed to beat him as soon as possible. Why? Because the war was about to end, and if I retreated now, he would steamroll me. I tried everything, but he just wouldn't break. So I came up with a new plan. I moved my 2 secondary armies toward his other settlement, and somehow it worked. He left his base and attacked me. Luckily, his garrison wasn't in range, and I finally defeated him. My war failed, but it didn't matter anymore. I was this close to erasing the last French from this planet. Meanwhile, while I was peacefully wandering across the deforested corpse of nature, a very evil piece of wood decided to ruin my moment. He didn't stand a chance, and I ate his saplings. After his disgusting tactics of foolery and heresy, he actually tried to bribe me into ending the war. And because I'm a heartwarming, deeply forgiving person, I accepted. And of course not because I needed the money. 2 turns later, I captured the last settlement and erased the final French from my side. And with that, I completed my first mission. For a long time, there was peace among the goblins. No fights, no French, just goblins living in harmony. My next logical step was to continue my holy crusade onto the High Elf Island, where I needed to capture the Tor. But my plans folded instantly after hitting end turn. Now Reichland decided to whoop my ass.
Bro. Alright. Chat, we're done for the night completely.
So once again, I started my war, kicked every orc out, and prepared my goblins for war. Everything was totally fine, until Karl Franz himself showed up. And I knew this was going to end badly. Not for him, for me. And if that wasn't bad enough, the forest started talking shit again. Yes, I know, I abused saving and loading. But listen, I was already 80 turns in, and if I lost my armies now, Karl Franz would flat me. I tried everything, lighting strikes, blurring out, setting ambushes, nothing worked. And then he pulled the ultimate game changer. He attacked Grom, alone. The battle prediction had zero faith in me, but I knew I had to prove it wrong. And that's exactly what I did.
If your enemy sits on a big-ass bird, shoot him down.
Seconds later, Karl Franz was gone. My enemies were fleeing and my side had huge casualties. But it didn't matter, because I defeated Franz. And as celebration, I ate the survivors. After that I took over some of his lands and began recruiting another army. I kept pushing deeper into imperial land, and guess what? Karl Franz was back. And this time with some serious units. I knew I had to stop him before he rebuilt, so my target was clear, Altdorf. If I didn't take it now, he'd spam out another doomstick in 2 turns. Oh, it looks like Sylvania took care of Karl Franz for me. Turn 86, I started the siege on Altdorf. Turn 87, it was mine. But of course, Franz wasn't done. He tried to be cheeky, recruiting new army right next to Altdorf. But little did he know, I had studied the art of war for 20 years, trained with the goblin monks of Mount Gobbo, read every scroll by Sun Tzu, and meditated under a waterfall of squig piss. When the war broke out, I was ready, not just physically, but mentally, spiritually, emotionally.
Karl Franz sucks wieners.
Truth be told, I had no idea what I was doing. But that was the plan, because if I don't know what I'm doing, then the enemy definitely doesn't either. With my gobbos eager to fight, some luckier than others, we made quick progress against the imperial scum. Everything was going well, except for the damn talking tree. I mispositioned my army, and now I had to live with the consequences. JK, he did literally nothing. Everyone still hates me. Except this one red. Nothing worth mentioning happened for some rounds. I took more settlements from Karl Franz, and for some reason, the ogre, who had a defense alliance with the Empire, wanted me dead. Great! Now I have to deal with an overweight, 3 times taller than a goblin-board man, who doesn't know that a calorie deficit will suit him pretty well. I spotted Karl Franz again, raising an entire elite army with no effort. And I started taking back what's mine. My concentration started to falter, and I occupied every settlement without thinking about looting or sacking them, which would have brought me the desperate needed money. I recruited even more goblins to speed up my progress. And of course, Middenland wanted to join the fight. Great. Now I have to deal with the talking tree, 2 imperial scumbags, and an overweight 3 times taller than a goblin bald man who still doesn't understand the concept of a calorie deficit. But I made peace with the ogre right after destroying his main army. And there he was again. I tried to stop him from doing unspeakable things to my goblin family, and I actually had a chance? But that didn't even kill him, not even half of his army. With his half army, Karl Franz thought it would be a great idea to raid my lands right in front of Grog.
Ooh, that's kind of small.
Wissenland conferred Middenland, at least I don't have to deal with that anymore, and I attacked Karl Franz again. I defeated him, but I knew he would return in 2 rounds with yet another stacked army. It was already hard dealing with full Karl Franz armies every second round. That's why I decided not to fight Wissenland, because I know she gonna be a pain in the ass too. I finally eliminated the talking tree, and I thought, why not kill the last one too, so they can't be a pain in the ass anymore. I used my again on a target you never expect. Karl Franz. Once again, I kicked out everyone who wasn't a goblin. But you know, fighting against Reichland wasn't hard enough. So of course, the dwarf decided to clear war on me. No worries, he's just strength rank 2. And he invited his dwarf friend. Finally, the last talking tree was defeated. And the red hat immediately started getting on my nerves. Everyone still hates me. I defended another attack from Karl Franz, and I created 2 new armies. Very necessary, in case the dwarf actually decided to end my 110 turns in seconds. Karl Franz sacrificed himself, and Grog finally arrived at one of his 3 remaining settlements. It turned into a race against time. I had new armies, but not enough income. Slowly but surely, the dwarf started taking over my settlement, and they came with even more armies. I finally took the last 2 settlements from Reichland, and our lovely Karl Franz was gone. Instead of catching my breath and witnessing the high elves for the first time, I now had to deal with humans that are the same size as goblins, but they smell a lot worse. They were getting closer every round. That was a problem. I placed all my armies via tunneling into the mountains, with 1 army in ambush stance, hoping the dwarves would walk right into my trap. And of course, because I did that, the blue dwarf came with another army and started digging a hole right through my back end. I pulled my armies back, hoping he couldn't attack with all of them at once. As you can see, Belegar didn't stand a chance. Finally, something good happened to me. This fight gave me a whopping 8,000 gold, and as a bonus, I ate the captives. Meanwhile, he attacked my magic tree.
Okay.
I wanted the big fat ogre gone, because this little shithead was going to attack me the moment I look away. But of course, I couldn't just declare war on him. He was, if you remember, in a defensive alliance with Wissenland. To defeat the overweight 3 times taller than a goblin bald man who still hasn't heard of a calorie deficit, I had to get cheeky. If I can't declare war on him, he needs to declare war on me. So I placed 2 armies inside his province and started emoting right in front of his settlement. Meanwhile, I moved 3 armies toward the dwarf, but without attacking. This tactic I learned from Sun Tzu chapter 54, line 9.
Push forward, but do not attack, because Dwarf Scary has many shooties patooties and runs away when attacked. So hide until he attack for counterattack. Yes.
I'm really grateful that the High Elves haven't attacked me yet, because if they had attacked me at any point in these 170 turns, I'd be dead. I tried to talk to the red so he would attack the dwarf, but he only understood cheese. I let the blue dwarf pass, not because I'm a genius tactician, but because he would absolutely wipe my ass. And finally, the overweight 3 times taller than a goblin bald man, who still doesn't know what a calorie deficit is, declared war on me. I unfortunately lost an army, but I really don't care. He took over the settlement, but it was a dead end. Next turn, he wasn't alive anymore. I besieged the ogre to finally end his misery. Of course, the game decided my army wasn't strong enough, so I had to prove it again.
If you can't see your wiener, you should seriously seek a gym.
I didn't move my infantry because they are fat, not me, so they should be the ones exercising. But after like 2 meters, they were out of breath and died of exhaustion. I won because I didn't have a heart attack after 10 seconds of walking, and with that, the ogre was history. Turn 120 hit, and that meant the endgame scenario was triggered. Luckily, it was just some skeletons on a moving pirate cruising around. The blue dwarf showed up again with 2.5 armies and continued to stubble goblin peace. For a few turns, nothing truly worth mentioning happened. They took settlements, I took them back. This repeated about 4 times. The red dwarf, meanwhile, seemed busy elsewhere. He didn't drop by as often as the blue one. Not that I'm complaining, but even when he did, he was no real threat. I mean, I'm a Libra, and he was fucking stupid. My war ended, and half of my army just disappeared. That was bad. Especially since the red dwarf suddenly came not with 1, but 2 full armies. I had 1 chance. Take out the first one before they link up. Outer Resolve had no faith in me, so it was time to step in.
If you don't have enough ammo, be the ammo.
The plan was foolproof. Grom would be the bait while the goblins attacked from afar. They threw rocks, arrows, sometimes even themselves, to shift the battle in our favor. Reinforcements arrived and it became clear who was going to win. Our superior tactics and goblin body physics won the day. Scarly couldn't believe it, and in blind rage, he tried to avenge his brother.
Okay.
And just like that, I defeated the dwarf wave that kept harassing the peaceful, totally rightfully taken lands of the goblins. Then another talking tree declared war. He somehow sneaked around my territory and began his attack. I ramped up my armies, pushed further into dwarf territory and clapped the talking tree back to the roots. The blue dwarf threw his last army at me and lost everything. Grom and his goons paid the high elves a visit and took Tor Ifresse, while I captured the final settlement. And with that, all my missions for world peace were completed. Oh, and those skeletons with their fancy moving pyramid? Yeah, not my problem. The goblins lived happily ever after, at least until today. I hope you had fun, cause I know I did. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. It helps me and the goblins a lot. Until next time.